from Washington, everybody. I'm David Schuster in tonight for Keith Olbermann. Like a zombie from Dawn of the Dead, Republican criticism of the stimulus has risen from a brief slumber. But in our fifth story in the countdown, President Obama isn't afraid of a few ghouls, and he is fighting back, forcing his Republican critics to howl in monstrous hypocritical agony. You may recall that Republican Senator Jon Kyl of Arizona recently said that the government should cancel the rest of the stimulus spending because it was a failure. So the Obama administration acted as if Senator Kyl actually meant what he said. 4 different cabinet secretaries wrote to the governor of Arizona asking if she agreed with Senator Kyl. From Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood, if you prefer to forfeit the money we are making available to your state, as Senator Kyl suggests, please let me know. Mr. LaHood attached a 3-page list of the projects paid for by the $521 million that Arizona is getting. The Republican governor made it clear her state wanted the money, adding, "The governor is hopeful that these federal cabinet officials are not threatening to deny Arizona citizens the portion of the federal stimulus to which they are entitled." Governor, you might want to take that up with the junior senator from your own state. And Arizona's other senator, John McCain, tried to grab his bit of flesh in this fight, quoting, "I strongly support the comments of Senator Kyl and call on the administration to retract its threat against the citizens of Arizona." Meantime, in other Republican stimulus hypocrisy news, there's Governor Rick Perry of Texas directing his state to borrow $643 million from the federal government to cover unemployment claims. This from the man who earlier this year rejected $550 million in stimulus money. And what does President Obama think of all of this? He offered a pretty clear idea to a huge crowd in Warren, Michigan earlier this week.
I love these folks who help get us in this mess and then suddenly say, well, this is Obama's economy. That's fine. Give it to me. My job is to solve problems, not to stand on the sidelines and carp and gripe.
Let's call in Newsweek magazine senior Washington correspondent and political columnist and MSNBC political analyst Howard Fineman. Howard, thanks as always.
Hi, David.
Howard, Governor Brewer and Senator McCain called it a threat, but in that particular skirmish, isn't the operative word outmaneuvered?
Yeah, I think so. And talking to some Republicans here in Washington and elsewhere, I think they would probably agree. This was a little like General Custer saying, I really executed a brilliant maneuver to get myself surrounded here. Because the fact is, most governors, Republican and Democrat, in most parts of the country, as Governor Perry really showed in the clip that you had earlier, they need the money, and they need the projects, and they need it now.
When Senator Kyl first made his comment about the failure of the stimulus, Senator Dick Durbin let him have it, reminding him that only $56 billion of the $787 billion had been spent. But Kyl and other Republicans like Congressman Eric Cantor seem to believe that a little more than 5 months into this administration, they can get away with a new round of slamming the stimulus.
Well, I think they can complain about the economy, and they're going to do so, and President Obama has a pretty good comeback, which you just heard. But the fact is that the risk in doing what they're doing is that the stimulus program, as poorly designed in some ways as it was, that needs to be admitted, is really just getting up ahead of steam now. And as a matter of fact, I think over the next 6 to 8 months or a year is really going to kick in big time. That's something that Democrats are going to stress, the president is going to stress, and that may in fact have a good effect on the economy certainly by the time election time rolls around.
We've also seen Karl Rove get in on the act. The former Bush senior advisor writing in the Wall Street Journal today that President Obama should have implemented more Republican ideas like more tax cuts for the rich, though he did not use the word rich. Obviously, this is a debate worth having, but are Republicans bringing anything new to the debate?
No, they're not bringing anything new, and the problem is that the tax cut philosophy, as expressed by George W. Bush and the Republicans in charge in the Congress, really didn't work. It didn't work big time in the last many years of the Bush presidency, and so that gives Barack Obama some room to maneuver. He's got to be careful, however, I think, David, because if he piles up too much spending and too many programs that not everybody is in favor of, then the additional taxes he's proposing could become politically perilous for him. I don't think that's happened yet. But I can assure you, even though the Democrats aren't going to listen to Karl Rove, they're going to be pretty careful on the tax front as they move forward on, especially on health care.
And a key question in all of that, of course, is the public patience. There were plenty of Republican governors who complained about stimulus money to their political detriment. And now the public is somewhat less patient than it was when Mr. Obama first took office. But aren't Republicans mistaken in thinking that the public is already at that tipping point, ready to jettison President Obama's approach?
Well, the White House is fully aware of that, and talking to them, I know they want to stress what other juice, and there's a lot of it, there is in the stimulus package. And they're going to be pushing that day in and day out in the coming months. As President Obama tries to portray himself, as he did in the clip that you showed, as a guy who's really got his sleeves rolled up and is working on the problems, and that's what he's going to try to show while the Republicans complain from the sideline.
Howard Fineman of Newsweek and MSNBC. Howard, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, David.